Hello, my name is Trey Mozagemba. I am the Cloud Product Manager for cPacket. And today I'm going to be providing an overview of our cPacket Cloud Suite for Google Cloud. And specifically, I'll be diving into details of the new network security integration, otherwise known as NSI, from the Google Cloud side. So let's dive right into the details. So, as I mentioned previously, we are an official launch partner for Google Cloud's network security integration. And with that support, we actually include both the out of band service as well as the in band service that Google Cloud is providing with their NSI capabilities. So, out of band service would be the packet mirroring, really their packet mirroring 2.0 service for all intents and purposes. And the in band scenario is a lot more interesting, where we sit inline in the data path. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But the cool part about the NSI packet mirroring service specifically is that we're able to really easily deploy a cStor-V for packet capture and analytics capabilities in a matter of minutes in Google Cloud, which gives you some really cool capabilities, which I'll demonstrate here in just a moment. So to first dive into the in-band scenario, as I mentioned before, in this case, our virtual packet brokers are sitting inline in the data path, where we then inspect the packet and then pass that packet on to its original destination as specified in the packet header. But we'll start over here with the consumer network over here on the right-hand side of the diagram. So you can see we have a few workloads in VPC-A and VPC-B. So through the use of Google Cloud's network and firewall security policies, you can specify which traffic you want to intercept or which traffic you want to inspect for security, as an example. So once you have specified that traffic over here in the consumer network, there's a Geneve tunnel, which facilitates communication between the consumer and producer network. And so moving on to the producer network on the left-hand side of the diagram, you can see we have a couple of CVUVs sitting behind a Google Cloud load balancer. And our CVUVs, of course, are our virtual packet brokers. And in this case, our CVUVs could live in something such as a managed instance group, which supports auto scaling and high availability, and also the ability to scale with variable traffic loads that may be occurring in the consumer network. But essentially, as I mentioned, we'll take a quick copy of the packet, pass it on to its original destination, and then we have downstream tools which we replicate the traffic to, such as NDR tools or our own cStor-V for packet capture and analytics in Google Cloud. So that's a quick overview of our in-band service. But where I'll spend more time today is our out-of-band service. So the out-of-band service is, you could argue, a bit easier to deploy. There's certainly pros and cons of in-band and out-of-band scenarios. And certainly working with customers, we can better understand which scenario may work better for them. But in an out-of-band scenario, you simply enable a packet mirroring service, and we have a very similar topology. And really what I'll do here is I'll zoom into the right-hand side of the diagram where we have our cPacket estate in the producer VPC. So here in the producer VPC, you can see we have our cPacket estate deployed. So starting here with the mirroring deployment at the bottom, showing that the packet mirroring service from NSI is enabled and pointed to what is the cloud load balancer sitting there at the top of the diagram. So similar to the previous diagram where we showed a load balancer fronting our CVV packet brokers, but in this case, the load balancer is pointing directly to our cStor-V packet capture virtual appliances. So there's no packet broker required in this scenario. We're simply taking the mirror traffic and then storing it on our cStor-V virtual appliances. So our cStor-V virtual appliances could also live in something such as a managed instance group. Again, that's sort of optional for auto scaling and also the ability to support high traffic workloads. But our cStor-Vs can capture reliable traffic from Google Cloud's NSI out-of-band service. And then downstream from there, you see our cClear-V control center, which is really what I'll actually be showing in our demonstration today. So our cClear-V can pull in metadata from cStores which live anywhere. So you have these cStor-Vs which are here capturing traffic which are appearing from GCP. And we also have cStore appliances and virtual appliances which reside in data centers and other cloud environments, such as AWS or Azure, as an example. So what I'll show in our demonstration today is how our cClear-V, which is running conveniently in Google Cloud, can pull in metadata from cStor-V virtual and physical appliances and show that in a single view from a management console. So that's what I'll be demonstrating today, and let's jump right into the demo. So I'm here on our observability page. And again, this is our cClear-V user interface, which is running in Google Cloud today. But what I want to show is just a quick overview of some of the summary level information that our observability page can show you. I'll then jump into a deep dive of a specific endpoint IP. And then lastly, I'll show some of our visualization capabilities in Grafana. But starting off with our observability homepage overview, we have some C stores at the top right, which you can see. So we have this auto reg C store, which is the C store which is running here in GCP. And then we have two C stores, Corp 1 and Corp 2. These are actually hardware C stores, which are running in our various lab locations. So moving down the page here to actually look at our locations, we have locations in Milpitas, Portland, and Google Cloud. And you can see the client latency for each of these locations that we've specified. And again, these are specified through IPs and CIDR ranges that are provided from the user. And then also similarly, we have some high-level services which are identified in our Portland lab. So this is our Portland Dev VM servers. We have some Google Cloud services and then some R&D lab services running. And just another, quick overview of the rest of the page. We can show things like inbound connection failures, outbound connection failures, latency, throughput for monitoring points and protocols. So just a whole host of summary level information that you can glean here from your hybrid estate. But what I want to do is jump into an IP deep dive. So we have this smart search capability at the top of the page, and you can see that it allows you to search for IP, service, location. So this allows you to jump directly into a Grafana dashboard, which is relevant to your search here. But what I'll do is jump directly to an IP endpoint that I'm familiar with. So here we are on our endpoint detail page. So you can see at the top left here, we have the host name, services, and locations. So from the services and locations, you can clearly glean that this is a GCP IP endpoint. This happens to be a server. So you can see at the top here, we have server latency, inbound failures, retransmissions, the inbound max active sessions as examples. So a whole host of information here at the top in terms of summary level information. We also show server latency by monitoring point, and we have a line chart here which shows you the latency over a period of time. And then towards the bottom of the page, we have our kind of pivot table in terms of viewing different KPIs or metrics for this particular server. So you can view metrics by latency, connection health, quality, session and flow utilization, and volume. And then we also even have the ability from this page to download a PCAP directly with some basic filtering available here. But just to quickly go through latency as an example, so we can glean latency by the monitoring point that has been established for a particular GCP deployment. And so again, you get a whole host of information such as server latency, peer client latency, et cetera. And then you can also pivot the table to look at things like protocols. So you can see the protocol that this server is primarily utilizing. So you see mostly HTTPS traffic. And then you can even see at the bottom here which host this server is peered to. So I expect to see this one because this is the test server I have running, or the test client rather I have running on the other end of this transaction. And then there's also what appears to be some management traffic that's also peered to this particular server. So that's a quick summary of the endpoint details. Again, from our observability page, you can throw in any endpoint, whether it's from GCP or elsewhere in your hybrid deployment, and you should be able to get this level of information depending on if it's a client or server. The last thing I'll jump into is the services page. So here we are on the services page. This will give you a list of all of the services that we're currently monitoring and inspecting with our C-Store appliances. At the top, we have summary level information such as the highest server latency, highest inbound connection failures, again, showing you the top 3 and then top 10 services by throughput. But you could just look through this list and you can imagine for some organizations, this list of services would be many pages long. But what we've quickly seen over the last few days in my test infrastructure here in GCP is we've seen AWS traffic. We've seen some traffic from our Portland VPN full tunnel. We've seen IPAM traffic from our Milpitas office. So you just get an idea of the level of information that we're peering from our hybrid infrastructure here, again, spanning across multiple physical lab locations, and then also our multi-cloud deployments in Google Cloud, AWS, and even Azure. So we're able to see all that information here. And that's a quick run through of our services page. So thank you for taking the time to watch this overview today of GCP. Hopefully this gives you an idea of some of the observability capabilities that cPacket has to offer in regards to GCP and also for hybrid deployments. And please reach out. I hope you have questions after watching this presentation. Please reach out to us via cPacket.com or via your local representative, and we'd be glad to have a discussion. So thanks and have a great rest of your day.